Let's start by giving our praises to the Most High, whose true name in the ancient Hebrew is Yahweh, in the name of his only begotten Son, whose true name in the ancient Hebrew is Yahweh Shai, and the Holy Spirit, which in the ancient Hebrew is the Ruach Kodash. Double honors to the elders of GMS, who taught us this truth by the Holy Spirit. Honors to the brothers risking their life and freedom to push the gospel. Peace and blessings to the elect, which will consist of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians, who make up the lost 12 tribes of Israel, according to Scripture and according to prophecy. The elect will be 1/3 of the Israelites, who in the last days will return back to the Most High to receive salvation, while the 2/3 of Israel who don't turn back to the Most High in time be destroyed with America. And that's all according to prophecy. We back with another lesson through the mercy of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua. And I think I'm going to title this The Department of War, War Against the 12 Tribes, The Wrath of the Devil. Something like that. Department of War, The Wrath of the Devil. So pretty much, some recent news concerning Trump and his executive orders. One has just been passed to rename the Department of Defense to the Department of War. And when you look at this screenshot that I've been using since the beginning of the year, I got it from this guy Paul. It says what? Trump's war on brown-skinned people, aka the Israelites, the Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, which will make up the 12 tribes. But you see that? Trump's war on brown-skinned or Israelite people to end birthright citizenship. So pretty much it's a war on the 12 tribes to get them out of this country one way or another. Now, as of what? September 2025, they're renaming it the Department of War, but they've been at war since the beginning of the year. Not talking about with Russia or China or the Middle East, but they've been making war against the 12 tribes since the beginning of the year, since the ICE raids and deportations began. So yeah, Trump's war on brown skin or Israelite people. So again, they've been at war. They just now changing it up. But if you've been paying attention, they've been waging war against the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. So we're gonna listen to a little bit of this, and they're gonna rewind it and break it down bit by bit. So check this out.
We won the Second World War. We won everything before that and in between, and then we decided to go woke and we changed the name to Department of Defense. So we're going Department of War, and I'd like to ask our Secretary of War to say a few words. Pete Hegseth, I think it's a much more appropriate name, especially in light of where the world is right now. We have the strongest military in the world. We have the greatest equipment in the world. We have the greatest manufacturers of equipment by far. There's nobody to even compete. And you see that with this and so many other things. The Patriots are the best. Every element of the military, we make the best by far. So, Pete, I'd like to ask you and maybe Dan Raisin-Kane to say a few words, please.
Mr. President, thank you. After winning a war for independence in 1789, George Washington established the War Department, and Henry Knox was his first Secretary of War. And this country won every major war after that, to include World War I and World War II. Total victory, Mr. President, as you said. Then 150 years after that, we changed the name after World War II from the Department of War to the Department of Defense in 1947. And as you pointed out, Mr. Mr. President. We haven't won a major war since, and that's not to disparage our warfighters, whether it's the Korean War, the Vietnam War, or our generation of Iraq and Afghanistan. That's to recognize that this name change is not just about renaming, it's about restoring. Words matter. It's restoring, as you've guided us to, Mr. President, restoring the warrior ethos, restoring victory and clarity as an end state, restoring intentionality to the use of force. So, at your direction, Mr. President, the War Department is going to fight decisively, not endless conflicts. It's going to fight to win, not to lose. We're going to go on offense, not just on defense. Maximum lethality, not tepid legality. Violent effect, not politically correct. We're going to raise up warriors, not just defenders. So this War Department, Mr. President, just like America, is back. Thank you for your leadership and your clarity. We're going to set the tone for this country. America first, peace through strength, brought to you by the War Department.
Yeah, so that's that. So we're going to take this back, then we're going to break it down bit by bit. Because a lot was said there. But I guess what I want to start off with, they go to mentioning all these other wars that's happened in the past. They mention the war that's going on now. Don't let them fool you. Them changing the name to the Department of War ain't got nothing to do with these other wars. They changing it to the Department of War, and they're gonna conduct themselves more violently, not for what's going on in the rest of the world, but for what's happening right here in America. All that stuff they just spoke, that ain't against Russia, it's not against Iran, North Korea, China. All that little slick talk they just did, that's for the American people, beginning with the 12 tribes, Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and any of you other Americans from the other nations that decide to get in the way. So let's get started.
And then we decided to go woke and we changed the name to Department of Defense. So we're going Department of War. And I'd like to ask our Secretary of War to say a few words. Pete Hegseth, I think it's a much more appropriate name, especially in light of where the world is right now.
He said the Department of War is a much more appropriate name where the world is right now. And that's biblical. And let's show it. Ecclesiastes 3:1, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the sun. And you know how it go. A time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down, a time to build up. But again, he said Department of War was a much more appropriate name considering where the world is at right now. But now let's get this. Verse 8, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. Him changing the name from Department of Defense to Department of War because we in that time of war. World War III, aka the Third Woe. We in a time of judgment. And ultimately, judgment is going to come through war. That's going to be the end of this world. It's going to be through war. World War III, the nuclear destruction. Again, that's why he said the Department of War is a much more appropriate name considering where the world is in 2025. This is the end. This is the time of judgment. Hey, so he's right. So, and what is Esau's blessing? We're not going to get it, but Genesis 27:40, his blessing was a sword. Esau Edom, who is the progenitor of the white race, Isaac told Esau Edom, you're going to live by the sword. So that's essentially what Trump is saying. They about to live by the sword all the way. And then you can link that up with Revelation 6:4, the the rider of the red horse. And he was given power to take peace from the earth. The opposite of peace is war. That people should kill one another. That's war. What to say? He was given a great sword. And what's that great sword? His military. That's his blessing, his specialty. So, a time of war, that's why Trump said the Department of War is a much more appropriate name considering the way the world is in 2025. And that lines right up a prophecy. So, let's continue.
We have the strongest military in the world. We have the greatest equipment in the world. We have the greatest manufacturers of equipment by far.
Hey, and don't America always brag about their military? This is Revelation, the book, chapter 13, verse 4, very straight to the point. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? America and the rest of the world, for the most part, would agree America has the greatest military. They always boast about that. And that's a consensus with the rest of the world. Who's able to go to war with America? Who's able to go to war with NATO? See that? Who was able to make war with him? Showing you that this beast, and even in Revelation, it talks about the third woe, which is World War III, which is going to be the end of this world. But let's continue.
There's nobody to even compete, and you see that with this.
You see that? He said nobody can compete. Who is able to make war with him? Trump said nobody can go to war with the U.S., nobody can compete. Then you know we're in that time of war. You know the red horse about to be in full effect. You saw the white man living by the sword about to be in full effect. They about to go from being defensive to being offensive, which they always been offensive because they attack everybody all across the damn world. But pretty much, what we're gonna get in a minute, that the devil is about to come down with great wrath. He not about to be playing with the people anymore. He not gonna obey any policies, any constitution, any international law. He not gonna care about your rights. That's what this is about. But let's continue.
And so many other things. The Patriots are the best. Every element of the military, we make the best by far.
Who is able to make war with him? See that?
So, Pete, I'd like to ask you and maybe Dan Raisin Kane to say a few words, please.
Mr. President, thank you. After winning a war for independence in 1789, George Washington established the War Department, and Henry Knox was his first Secretary of War. And this country won every major war after that, to include World War I and World War II. Total victory, Mr. President, as you said. Then 150 years after that, we changed the name after World War II from the Department of War to the Department of Defense in 1947. And as you pointed out, Mr. President, we haven't won a major war since. And that's not to disparage our warfighters, whether it's the Korean War, or the Vietnam War, or our generation of Iraq and Afghanistan. That's to recognize that this name change is not just about renaming, it's about restoring.
So he brung up all these wars that they won, that they didn't win. But this is not about what goes on in the rest of the world. See, they get to mentioning these other wars that happen abroad, meaning outside of America, and that'll get you to lower your guard. Because somebody may be alarmed when they see this change, the Department of War. But once they start get to bringing up Vietnam and Iraq, Afghanistan, World War I and II, it make you drop your guard. Because you would think that this has nothing to do with you or to do with the inside of America. No, but this has everything to do within America. And we're going to show that. But I guess I might get this real quick. Well, we'll get in a minute, but let's continue.
Words matter. It's restoring, as you've guided us to, Mr. President, restoring the warrior ethos, restoring victory and clarity as an end state, restoring intentionality to the use of force.
Yep. Intentionality to the use of force. What is that? That's gotta I gotta show it now, I guess. That's Genesis 27 to 40, talking about the use of force. And what did Isaac tell Esau? And by thy sword shalt thou live. See that?
So, at your direction, Mr. President, the War Department is going to fight decisively, not endless conflicts.
You hear that? They're gonna fight decisively and not in an endless conflict. Meaning what? They're not gonna play around with you. They're not gonna tussle with you anymore. They're gonna fight to win. It's not gonna be no back and forth struggle. We seen ICE got beat up in Florida. They got beat up in New York. They not having no more of that. It's not gonna be no fighting back. It's not gonna be no resisting. It's gonna be get down or lay down, and they coming to lay everybody down. Beginning with you 12 tribes, but also you other Americans, so-called Chinese, Japanese, you so-called white people. You want to get in the way, they gonna lay you down too. Again, they say they fighting decisively, no more endless conflict. Meaning, they want to finish things as soon as possible. Meaning, it's gonna be no more playing around. They not playing with your people no more. And again, this got nothing to do with Russia, China, North Korea. This has to do within America, and we're gonna prove it in a minute. But let's let this continue.
It's going to fight to win, not to lose. We're going to go on offense, not just on defense.
They're gonna go on offense. They're gonna fight decisively. By thy sword shalt thou live.
Maximum lethality.
Maximum lethality. That's these devils. They use words that go in one ear and not the other. But the root word for the word lethality would be lethal. He said maximum lethality. Let's look up this word lethal. Fatal, deadly, mortal, causing death, death dealing, life threatening, murderous, homicidal, killing, terminal, final. 8. These devils fight, with biological warfare too. Poisonous, toxic, venomous, dangerous, destructive, harmful, disastrous, calamitous, ruinous, deathly. So yeah, deadly, fatal, threatening, murderous. That's what lethal mean. He said maximum lethality. So pretty much, they're gonna go full force, in causing death, full force, in being homicidal, being murderous, killing. And again, you would think that he would be talking about, the Middle East, Russia, China, but we're gonna show he talking about right here within America. So we're gonna show that. But again, he said maximum lethality. Matter of fact, we might just have to take that back real quick. I thought that was pretty heavy.
Lose. We're going to go on offense, not just on defense. Maximum lethality, not
Maximum lethality. They're gonna go full force with putting people to death. Oh, that's why the scriptures say this. Let me see if I can get it real quick. Dang. Let me see how fast I can get it. Second Ezra chapter 16, maybe about verse 70. Verse 71. They shall be like mad men, sparing none. That's maximum lethality. They're gonna go on a killing spree, homicidal, murderous intent, destructive, causing death. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. That's the 12 tribes. Matter of fact. But again, that's Genesis 27 and 40. And by thy sword shalt thou live. They about to use that sword full force to this full extent. That's what it means, to be maximum. He said maximum lethality. That sword about to go in full effect.
Tepid legality,
Oop.
violent effect.
Oop, 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 oop. Hold up.
On defense, maximum lethality, not tepid legality, violent effect. Not
He said violent. He said violent. Now where is that at? I can't think of it off the top. Let me see if I can get it real quick. They said that word violent. Let me see if I can get this real quick. I think it's Psalms 124. No, that's not it. Look it up on my phone real quick. Psalms 140. He said violent effect, but that word violent popped up. That word violent is all throughout the scriptures. So this is Psalms 140 and 1. Deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually they are gathered together for war. And they gather together to change the Department of Defense to the Department of War. And that's what they're talking about. How they pretty much about to stop playing with the people and start just putting people to death on the spot, showing no mercy, making full use of the sword. Now let's go back.
on offense, not just on defense. Maximum lethality, not tepid legality. Violent effect, not politically correct. We're going to rate.
Oop, he said violent effect, not politically correct. Another word for, with politics, there's policies. Policies like what? The law, the justice system, the Constitution, your Bill of Rights, international law. There's even international law on how countries supposed to go to war. There's certain things that are off limits when countries go to war. Even within America, there's things that are not supposed to be done according to the Constitution, like the military being in the streets, use of deadly force by the military against the American people. He said violent effect, not politically correct. So what? They're not going to play by the book. They're not going to play by the rule book, the different laws and constitutions and rights that you people have. They're not about to care with none of that. Again, that's why Second Ezra 16 and 71 said they should be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. And if you so-called white people want to get in the way, trying to be our friend, they're going to lay you down just like a nigger or just like a Mexican or an Indian. Let's take that back. They ain't playing.
Not to lose. We're going to go on offense, not just on defense. Maximum lethality, not tepid legality. Violent effect, not politically correct.
Violent effects. That's why David said Deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man. David was prophesying about these Edomites whose blessing is a sword, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. What evil, destruction. Continually they are gathered together for war. That's what these executive orders and these house bills about. To find another reason to go to war or to start a war or to cause a war or, to target another people. Verse 4, keep me, O Lord, from the hands of the wicked. That's Esau, Edom, the white man. Preserve me from the violent man who have proposed to overthrow my goings. So what they really want to do is cut off the people of Israel. They want to exterminate us. Bigger picture, they want to keep us from coming into this truth. That's what they want to overthrow. That's really what this is all about. That's their end goal, to come after us who got this truth. But let's see what else you got to say.
We're going to raise up warriors, not just defenders. So this War Department, Mr. President, just like America, is back. Thank you for your leadership and your...
Yeah. So let's now continue on to the book of Psalms 55. We're going to get verse 20. And we're going to get it in two different versions. But again, that's why Ecclesiastes 3 and 8, a time to love, a time to hate, a time of war, and a time of peace. And Trump said the way that the world is, Department of War is much more appropriate, and he's absolutely correct according to prophecy. So let's continue to the book of Psalms 55 and 20. He put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. Yeah, our people are at peace with Esau, Edom, the white man. They come over here, they gain citizenship legally. Even if they don't get citizenship, they come over here, they work, be part of society, they help America function, they help this place go round, they make America great. Speaking for the 12 tribes, who work here, so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, Seminole Indians. So again, he hath put forth his hands, Esau, Edom, he put forth his hands, ICE, the military, law enforcement, against such as be at peace with him. That's the 12 tribes. He hath broken his covenant. See, he broke the covenant. Now, let's get this in the NLT over here to the right. Psalms 50 and 20, NLT. As for my companion, it goes on to say, he betrayed his friends. He broke his promises. Esau ain't kept none of his promises. Negroes for Trump, Latinos for Trump. He told you he gonna make America great. He's gonna be for the people. He lied to y'all and y'all voted for him. He lied to you and he got your vote. What's other promises that he's breaking? Y'all come over here and get citizenship. Come over here on the visa, green card, work permit. Now he's trying to strip you of your citizenship. You're supposed to have certain rights. You're being denied your rights. Your Bill of Rights, your Constitution, that's something that they promise to defend and protect. He's about to break all of that. That's why he said violent effects, not politically correct. So all the policies, Bill of Rights, Constitution, other laws that's in writing, they about to break all of that. They not about to play it by the book. That's why it says broken his covenant or broken his promises. Verse 21, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter. It sounds good, talk about America's back, talking about the wars they lost. But the Department of War and the changes that's taking place within the military ain't got nothing to do with these other countries. This is about the American people, specifically the 12 tribes, so called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war is in his heart. Esau gonna talk a good game. He gonna make stuff sound good. Elaborate speeches, but it's all about war. And now he's coming to the forefront with it. He used to what had to talk in code, speak in secret, but now he's telling you what's really on his mind. And that's why we played the speech and stopped it little by little, looked up words, analyzed what he was saying. He's coming more to the forefront with it. We know what his true intentions. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. A drawn sword is pointed. When you draw a gun, it's pointed somewhere. That's the same case with the words that he speak. He act like he's speaking in general. No, but what he's saying is directly targeted at a certain group of people. And it would be the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. That's why he used code words like he's going to deport illegal criminals, illegal immigrants. That's a code word for the so-called Latinos. And that what? He wants to get criminals. Well, the way that Trump in America defines criminal, meaning it's a so-called black, so-called Negro, so-called African American. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. All this stuff he speaks, he has a target in mind when they say these things. He's not just speaking in general. There's always a target in mind. So we're going to get this in the book of Revelation. 12 and 12. Very straight to the point. Damn, that's not. This is Revelation 12 and 12. We're going to come straight to the point. Therefore rejoice, you heavens, and you that dwell in them, that will be the elect. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth, everybody outside of the elect. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil, who is Esau, Edom the white man, is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And it was one of the things that they said. They're coming to fight decisively. They coming to finish, whatever they start. He said no more endless conflict, meaning it's a constant struggle, a constant going back and forth, meaning they not playing around. They coming full force. That's what it mean when he says the devil is going to come down with great wrath. Let's look up this word wrath. What does that really mean? He's coming down with great wrath. We can tell you all day, but we're going to actually look at the word. And for this word wrath is G2372. Now here, it's not going to give us too much. It says passion, angry. But what we want to do is we want to come to the root word. See, this is the root word. See that? Root word. So the word wrath in the Greek comes from this word right here. So let's click it. So this word wrath, now when we look at it, it says to slay, to kill, to slaughter. See that? Now we know what it means when they say he's coming down with great wrath. To slay, to kill, to slaughter. So let's go back. Yep, the devil is come down into you having great wrath. The devil is about to come slaughter. He's about to go on a killing spree, a murder spree. He's going to be extremely homicidal. And that's why he said um, maximum lethality. And we put up that word lethality, it pretty much means the same thing for the word wrath: to slay, to kill, to slaughter, fatal, deadly, causing death, murderous, homicidal, killing, ruinous, deathly, destructive. That's how they come in. And again, this is not dealing with Russia, China. This is dealing with the American people. So we went into those words. Now we're going to prove that it's not dealing with China and Russia and North Korea, but it's dealing with the American people. Now I got a screenshot that Trump posted this past weekend. Donald J. Trump: I love the smell of deportations in the morning. Chicago about to find out why it's called the Department of War. So what they said: maximum lethality, no legality, um, violent effect, not politically correct. They're not going to honor the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, your laws, your rights. Rather, you're an immigrant or a citizen. This proves that this whole Department of War, everything they speaking, it was directed at you American people, specifically the 12 tribes, so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. Again, he said Chicago about to find out why it's called the Department of War. And they about to do something new when they go to Chicago, I'm guessing, based off how they talking. So this is going to be an example of what's to come to the rest of America. And then as we zoom in here, about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, Chicago had got the nickname Chirac, like Iraq. Started calling it Chirac. And look what Trump said: the Apocalypse. Pretty much, he about to bring doomsday to Chicago. And then look at the picture he generated. Can you tell me if this is about peace and making America great and safe again? You got Chicago on fire. You got warplanes and helicopters. It seemed like he would have criminals being locked up, the people happy, cheering, families out there, children's out there safe. But no, that's why I said the Department of War is a much more appropriate name for the days that we in. That's all according to prophecy. And again, not just Chicago, but America. Chicago is going to be made the example. America, you American people, American citizens, are about to find out why it's called the Department of War. Not Russia, not China. This is dealing within America. And we gonna get this real quick. And this is why he said it, because you got the mayor and you got people in Chicago that's already protesting and standing up to what Trump is doing. But you got a lot of YNs and a lot of gangs in Chicago. Now check this out. Chicago gang members warn Trump against sending troops. Says gangs will overpower the National Guard. We are a different effing breed out here. Yeah, Chicago is different. They got switches, and the switch could make a handgun do devastating things. Pretty much turn a semi-automatic to a fully automatic, and it's cheap to do, and they out there. But they're not just coming with the National Guard; they're coming with the military. That's why the switch is now the Department of War. That's why Trump said they're going to fight with intentionality, no endless conflict, maximum lethality, no legality, violent effect, not politically correct. You got to analyze them words. So whatever rights you once had or thought you had, they out the window. Whatever laws or policies were once in place, they out the window. And we got that. That's why again, Psalms 50 and 20 in the NLT, it said he broke his promises. In the KJV, it says he put his hands against such as were at peace with him, and he broke his covenant. Everybody, whether it's the citizens, the government, or the military, they supposed to protect and defend the Constitution. They supposed to honor the law. Oh, that's out the window. And they know this. And that's why, we see these posts, we see these videos. Trump and the military see it too. So when y'all post stuff like this, say stuff like this, you letting Trump know how they need to come at you. Chicago. That's why the guy said maximum lethality. They're going to use the full force of the military, full force of the sword. That's why I said they're going to fight with intentionality, no endless conflicts. They're not about to come and put up a fair fight. No, they coming to lay down. That's why the scripture said they should be like madmen sparing up. They're going to come out there with no mercy, no regard for human life. That's what it means when he says maximum lethality. They're going to come dealing death or causing death in the quickest, most efficient way possible. Also, I want to get this. Damn, I got stuff all over the damn place. Where we at? This is the book of Psalms, chapter 10, verse 3. For the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire. That's what he doing. I love the smell of deportations. They boasting of their heart's desire. They proud of this Department of War change. Maximum lethality, fight with intentionality, violent effects, not politically correct. He boasting in his heart's desire. Blessed the covetous whom the word abhorreth. So yeah, this is the wicked boasting in his heart's desire. Chicago about to find out why it's called the Department of War. They proud of this. They itching to do this. They think about it day and night. Now, we're going to continue to get a couple videos. I got 2 videos. We get maybe 1 minute of each. Then we're going to close out with Ezekiel 21, if I can find my place. Chicago protesters push back on Trump administration threat to deploy National Guard to the city.
Protesters in Chicago are pushing back against the Trump administration's threat to deploy the National Guard. The administration claims it wants to help law enforcement efforts in Chicago. But unlike the recent federal takeover in D.C., President Trump's message in recent days has targeted Chicago's undocumented population. Christiane Cordero has our coverage tonight.
Today, the city of Chicago is gearing up for a possible surge in federal law enforcement as President Trump points to what he says is a crime problem in the city as a reason to send in the National Guard troops.
And that's, again, Psalms 55 and 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. He talking this crime fighting talk as a reason to send in the military. It got nothing to do with the crime. This is war against the American people, specifically you 12 tribes.
Chicago's mayor has blasted the administration by saying Trump wants to occupy our city and break our Constitution.
Oop, see that? He want to break the Constitution. That's Psalm 55 and 20, which they already been breaking the Constitution. He hath put forth his hands against as such as be at peace with him, meaning what? People who have not broken the law. He have broken his covenant. That's the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, your rights, the American law. They about to break all of that.
I don't know why Chicago isn't calling us saying, please give us help. When you have, over just a short period of time, 50.
He ain't talking about nothing. We're gonna get this next video, and you see hundreds took to downtown Chicago in protest of Operation Midway Blitz. And I think Chicago is the third largest city in the U.S. So they're gonna have to they're gonna have to establish a big military presence.
We're also talking about a so-called emergency protest called by several groups speaking out about the federal enforcement that's happening downtown during the peak of rush hour, and politicians on opposite sides of the aisle sparring about the operation in Chicago. We begin here tonight with Marissa Sulik, who was there as hundreds of people flooded downtown streets tonight. And Marissa, while the protests grew, things did stay under control.
That's right, Joe. And yeah, this is what the Coalition Against the Trump Agenda, as you just mentioned, is calling an emergency protest. It was followed by a march that went past the Trump Tower here, and they just had one of these on Saturday.
Anyways, you see they got hundreds of people protesting, and Trump is calling this Operation Midway Blitz. Let's look up that word blitz. Got it on the screen right here. For the word blitz, it says bombardment, bombing, so the use of bombs, which is to be used by the military, a barrage, attack, assault. So the military is on attack mode against the U.S. people, U.S. citizens. Citizens or not, that's violating the Constitution. That's breaking that promise or that covenant. On the offensive. So the military is going to be on the offensive, not in Russia, not in the Middle East, but right here in America. So we're going to get a little bit more before we close out. Let me see. We're going to get Ezekiel 21, 8 through 11, and that's going to be it. Matter of fact, we're going to get this. This is the book of Psalms 10 and 7. His mouth is full of cursing, deceit, and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. So he's speaking a whole bunch of evil and lying at the same time. He sit up in the lurking places of the villages. Modern day village would be your city, different communities. In secret places doth he murder the innocent. The innocent, nobody who's broken his law. He not just going after criminals. He going after normal people. His eyes are privily set against the poor. So again, the executive orders, these bills, the changes in the military being here in America, they say they want to stop crime. They have a target people in mind, and the target people will be the 12 tribes of Israel. That's the poor. We did that lesson last week. When you see that word poor or needy in the scriptures, that's concerning the 12 tribes. And we broke both of those words down thoroughly. So again, his eyes are set privily against the poor. That would be the 12 tribes of people who have no power to save themselves or to help themselves. The law is not on their side. Law enforcement is not on their side. Nobody to stick up for them and defend them. So we the poor, meaning weak. No political influence, no military, etc. He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. And that's what ICE has been doing. Catching the poor of our people, snatching them up in these ICE raids, putting them on cargo planes, dropping them off in the ocean, dropping them off in these detention centers. He doth catch the poor when he draweth them into his net. He croucheth and humbleth himself. So he's going to pretend like he's for the people. He's going to speak to you on your level. He's going to sympathize with you. That the poor may fall by his strong ones. That's ICE. That's his military. Those are the strong ones, his mighty men. So he going to crouch and humble himself. Words of his mouth are smoother than butter. He's going to speak a good thing to the people. Then the military going to swoop in. This is the book of Ezekiel 21. We're going to get a couple versions. We're going to start at verse 8. We're going to jump back and forth between the KJV and the NLT. Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy and say, Thus says the Lord, say, a sword is sharpened, a sword is sharpened. That's their military. That's their weaponry. The advancements they making a technology. That's a sword being sharpened. That's what they got a saying, cutting edge technology. The advancements they making a technology mostly goes to their military. You thought the advancements in a technology was to give you a smart car or a smart TV or a smartphone. No, they got smart missiles. They got smart bullets. They got robotic dogs with cannons on the back of them. That's where they technology mostly go. It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. He said maximum lethality. It is furbished that it may glitter, should we then make mirth. Let's get verse 10 in the NLT. To make a sore slaughter, it is furbished that it may glitter. Check this out. It is sharpened for a terrible slaughter and polished to flash like lightning. That's that firepower. A lot of that firepower, hey, when you fire it off, when you shoot it, it flash like lightning. Now will you laugh? Everybody still scoffing and mocking at the truth, at the men of the Lord. Everybody living it up at a time like this. Trump told you what time, we've been telling you, you know, beginning with the elders, Regime Mess, they've been telling you, you know, what time we in. We've been telling you it's a time of Jacob's trouble. This is a time of judgment. It's a time of war. We at the end. Now will you laugh? Verse 11, he hath given it to be furbished that it may be handled. So the military, the sword, these weapons, they wasn't made for show. They wasn't made to not be used. It was made to be handled. And they're going to handle the sword to handle the 2/3 of our people and you other American people that get in the way, no matter your race. This sword is sharpened and it is furbished and to give it into the hand of the slayer. That's Trump and his military, ICE, National Guard on down. Let's get it in the NLT. Yes, the sword is now being sharpened and polished. It is being prepared for the executioner. Ain't Trump sounded like the judge and the executioner? They said no legality, maximum lethality. He said violent effect, not politically correct. He sounded like the judge and the executioner all in one. But yeah, hey, I guess keep your eyes on Chicago. We're gonna see how it play out. You know, and Trump talking about apocalypse. Hey, maybe I think this may be something to see. But ultimately, we know the devil was coming down with great wrath, and we went into that word for wrath. It pretty much means to kill, to slay, or to slaughter. Meaning they're not coming to play around, they come in full force. And I'm going to get this last one in Revelation 12 and 17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman. That would be symbolic for Israel. And went to make war. See that? The devil going to come with great wrath. And that's going to be by him making war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of Yahweh, have the testimony of Yahweh Shah. So everything they speaking, all this war talk, Department of War, violent effect, not politically correct, maximum lethality, no mercy. They're not coming to play around. They're going to fight decisively. All this talk that they direct toward illegal criminals, illegal immigrants, or American criminals. All of that energy gonna be directed at us with this truth sooner than later. So all that energy, all that effort they putting out, they're gonna bring it to us that got this truth. So we next. So Lord Wooden does informative, edifying. Till next time, Shalom.